What's up, guys? Today we're going to be checking out the Starke Sound SW15 subwoofer. Alright, so let's get this thing unboxed and see what is inside. So I'd like to send a shout out to Starke for sending this in for a review. So in here we get power cord. Looks to be a 3-pronger. Get the instruction manual, some documentation there, and the subwoofer itself. Sub isn't too heavy. It's about 55 pounds. So I mean, you can manhandle it up if you have to. Let's take a little closer look. On the front, we have the grill. There is the Brev logo on the top of the grill there. This is not a magnetic grill. These have little pressure fittings there to keep the grill intact. Nice quality grill, nice little design. This is, as the name would suggest, a 15-inch driver. And look at the rubber surround on that. That is nice and dense. So it is a 15-inch driver. This sub will go down to 14 hertz. Cabinetry, let's give it the knuckle test. Not bad. Around back, we have your line inputs, your subwoofer LFE input. Nice touch with the XLRs. Not too many subwoofers at this price point have XLRs, so kudos Starke Sound for including XLRs. I don't need to buy adapters. We got the volume knob, phase from 0 to 180 degrees, so it's variable, it's not 0 or 180. It's also a nice touch. Crossover from 50 to 200 hertz. Got your power off, auto or on, main power switch, and then your power input as well. And the amplifier is rated at 450 watts with, I think, 800 watts peak. On the bottom here, get some rubber feet. Probably unscrew these and put some spikes on there if you wanted to. But overall though, it is a vinyl wrap. Pretty nice quality. It's not like a regular square box. It has some rounded edges, which is a nice touch. And then the driver also. Very stiff. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing set up and I'll come back and give you some thoughts and impressions. For setup, I'll be hooking the subwoofer up to a Trinnov Altitude processor and using a Kaleidescape and Zappiti media player for demos. Not everyone has an Altitude, so I'm going to turn off the room correction and dial in the sub with its own set of adjustments. Normally it takes 2 subwoofers to get a clean, even response in my room, but since I was only sent 1, the best placement for the subwoofer is dead center underneath my screen. The first demo we're going to check out is Ready Player One in Dolby Atmos. The race sequence has some pretty potent response below 40 Hz. This entire scene just rocked. Given the size of the subwoofer, I didn't expect this kind of low end. There was so much rumble, I thought my baseboards were going to fall off the wall. And with this type of action flick, you want that heavy booming response that shakes everything loose in your room. It's thick, it's pressurized, it gives you that cinematic feeling like you'd get when you go to a proper theater. Next up, we've got to give those tanks a listen on the 4K version of Fury. It's got an Atmos mix with a crazy hard-hitting battle scene.
All tanks, start squirting that tree line. Let's light him up. Let's go. Let's clean it up.
The SW15 can most definitely provide some serious slam. That being said, it's not as quick and percussive as some other subwoofers I've tried. I felt the bass was more like a quick hard shove to the body rather than a fast Bruce Lee-esque body blow, so it's a little bloated sounding rather than being quick and tight. It didn't ruin the movie experience in any way, but if you've heard more articulate subs, then you'll notice it comes up short. Another thing to listen for is how good your subwoofers can expand the atmospheric soundstage. You should hear the faint explosions and the tanks driving away in the background.
Figure 6 out. Handsome pushing motherfucker. How you doing? Just want to come down here, stand knee deep in their guts and form an opinion. Figure 6 out. Handsome pushing motherfucker. How you doing?
Even through a highly compressed YouTube video, I think you're able to hear the little differences a subwoofer can make to create a more three-dimensional landscape for these audio mixes. The Starke picked up those low-end harmonics that makes it feel like you've got tanks driving outside in your neighborhood. Some smaller subs or subs that have limited frequency response might not be able to pick up those little subtleties. And up last is the intro to Edge of Tomorrow on the Kaleidescape.
I'm not sure if we're even on the air.
Surprisingly, this didn't do all that bad in my space. It didn't make the hair on my arms blow in the wind, but it did manage to thoroughly vibrate my eardrums and the light fixtures in the next room. Once again, it's got a big, booming presence that works great for these big action movies. Now, I did take a measurement in my space from the main listening position. You can see I was getting response down to 10 Hz with a huge dip at 25. My crossover was set at 80 Hz, and since I only had one sub, I wasn't able to get the smoothest response. I'm sure if I had two, this whole experience might have been very different. Keep in mind, this is the measurement I got in my space and is very likely going to be different for yours. At the time of this video, the SW15 sells for $8.99. I found the performance to be surprisingly impressive. It's such a smallish, lightweight box that I didn't think it was going to perform as big as it does. As mentioned before, I didn't find it to have as much finesse as a few other subwoofers I've tried, so I personally wouldn't find myself using this for a 2-channel setup. With that said, it's a killer for home theater and digs crazy low for such a small enclosure. It's got big booming bass that'll take action movies up several notches and will surely upset your downstairs neighbor. Another thing to mention that other subwoofer brands should take note of is the inclusion of XLR inputs. I've got subwoofers in right now that cost twice as much as the Starke that only have RCAs. This might not seem like a big deal, but if you're someone that uses separates, you're going to find that some processors don't have unbalanced RCAs anymore. Therefore, you're now going to have to pick up some XLR to RCA adapters. And who wants to do that? So kudos to Starke for adding that to their low-cost subwoofers. Maybe it'll become a trend. Well, those are my thoughts on the Starke Sound SW15 sub. If this is how good their entry-level model does for home theater, I'd be curious to know how good their flagship is. I just hope they send me two. Now, if you do want to pick one of these guys up, I'll leave a link for it down below in the video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful, follow us on social media, and if you want to support the channel and find the work that we do here valuable, then stop by our Patreon page. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you again in the next video.